The provisional agenda for this meeting is Threats to International Peace and Security. The agenda is adopted. In accordance with Rule 37 of the Council's Provisional Rules of Procedure, I invite the representative of the Islamic Republic of Iran, Iraq, Israel, Kuwait, Turkey, and the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela to participate in this meeting. It is so decided. In accordance with Rule 39 of the Council's Provisional Rules of Procedure, I invite the following briefers to participate in this meeting: Ms. Rosemarie DiCarlo, Under Secretary General for Political and Peace-Building Affairs, and Mr. Rafael Mariano Grossi, the Director General of the International Agency for Atomic Energy. It is so decided. In accordance with Rule 39 of the Council's Provisional Rules of Procedure, I also invite His Excellency Mr. Stavros Lambrinidis, Head of the Delegation of the European Union to the United Nations, to participate in this meeting. It is so decided. The Security Council will now begin its consideration of Item 2 of the agenda. I wish to warmly welcome the Secretary General, His Excellency Mr. Antonio Guterres, and I give him the floor.
Madam President, allow me to make a brief introduction before the briefings of my colleagues. Excellencies, there are moments when the choices before us are not just consequential, they are defining. Moments when the direction taken will shape not only the fate of nations, but potentially our collective future. This is such a moment. To the parties to the conflict, the potential parties to the conflict, and to the Security Council as the representative of the international community, I have a simple and clear message: give peace a chance. The confrontation between Israel and Iran is escalating rapidly with a terrible toll, killing and injuring civilians, devastating homes, neighborhoods, and civilian infrastructure, and attacking nuclear facilities. The world is watching with growing alarm. We are not drifting toward crisis. We are racing toward it. We are not witnessing isolated incidents. We are on course to potential chaos. The expansion of this conflict could ignite a fire that no one can control. We must not let that happen. Excellencies, it may be easy to list a range of problems that have impacted relations between Israel and Iran in the last decades. But the central question of this conflict is the nuclear question. Non-proliferation is a must for the safety and security of us all. The Non-Proliferation Treaty is a cornerstone of international security. Iran must respect it. And Iran has repeatedly stated that it is not seeking nuclear weapons. But let's recognize there is a trust gap. The only way to bridge that gap is through diplomacy, to establish a credible, comprehensible, and verifiable solution, including full access to inspectors of the IAEA as the United Nations technical agency in this field. For all of that to be possible, I appeal for an end to the fighting and the return to serious negotiations. At this defining moment, I urge this Council to act with unity and urgency for dialogue. And I urge the international community to rally behind the sole path that can deliver lasting peace: diplomacy, grounded in international law, including the UN Charter.
Conflict are concerns about Iran's nuclear program. As the Secretary